Probate is one of the most interesting real estate transactions in all of real estate. Most of the time, inherited house sales go smoothly, but ever so once in a while, things can really go wrong. Stay tuned because I'm going to present to you 4 different stories of what happened to us when we were selling probate properties. And stay tuned to the very end because the last thing that happened was a total surprise to us. The most common scenario that I run into when I'm selling probate properties is that items get stolen from the house. It's usually by roommates, girlfriends, boyfriends, or sometimes even siblings who are living in the inherited house. And usually it happens when the personal representative, I don't want to scare any personal representatives that are long distance, but it usually happens when they're long distance. Then when they travel to come back to the house to take care of business, they say things to me like, "Oh, what happened to that Rolex watch? It's gone." Or, "Oh, what happened to the huge TV that was on the wall? It's not there anymore." And they tell me stories about, most of the time, it's items of values that were stolen from the house. And imagine the feeling of helplessness when you're distanced from the property and you have no control over somebody that's living in the property. In all of the inherited houses that I have sold and somebody was living in the house, the personal representative is long distance, invariably items get stolen from the house. Okay, so the next story is suspenseful, so stay tuned. Hi, my name is Nancy Adinolfe. I'm a realtor here in Sacramento County. I serve personal representatives with the real estate portion of an estate that's going through probate. I serve all areas of Sacramento County, including Sacramento, Elk Grove, Citrus Heights, Folsom, Rancho Cordova, and all of the other towns in Sacramento County. In one instance, long before the personal representative went to the first hearing, the inherited house was broken into. So this was even before she was a personal representative. She was just a proposed personal representative at that point in time. And so she was worried that the house was going to get broken into once again, and she let a friend of a friend temporarily move into the house. So she thought people living in the house, there should be no more break-ins, but it actually created a much bigger problem. Her friend of a friend let 8 other people move into the inherited house. We had the house on the market. We had buyers viewing the house with all of these people living in the house. One of them was living in the garage with 5 space heaters running constantly. And of course, they ran up a huge electric bill. And unfortunately, the electric bill was in the proposed personal representative's 80-year-old mother's name. Anyway, believe it or not, we got an offer on the house despite all of these occupants in the house. And we let them know well in advance. They knew months in advance that the house was going to be going up for sale and that they needed to vacate the house for the buyers. Well, on the day of the final walkthrough, they were still living in the house. All 8 people were still living in the house. So the buyers were willing to wait 2 weeks for the occupants to move out. 2 weeks came and went, and still the occupants would not move. Well, not surprisingly, the buyers walked away from the deal and they decided they did not want to buy the house. So we used a trick in the industry to voluntarily get the occupants to move out. And after they finally left, we cleaned the house very, very thoroughly. And I remember that professional cleaners wouldn't even clean out the refrigerator, so I personally went in there and cleaned out the refrigerator myself. And we put the house back on the market for $50,000 more than the original price. And it sold very quickly after that, and it turned out pretty well. So this next third story that I'm going to tell involves legal issues. So this was in a property when the trust documents were lost. And, when you lose the trust documents, it's like not even having a trust. So, they weren't able to contact the attorney, nothing. That it was totally lost. So, that's what happened to our good client. She had to go through probate since there was actually no trust. So anyway, we put the house on the market, and we went through months and months. The personal representative just did tons of work on the house. We did tons of work on the house and getting it all ready, and months and months of work. So we were all set. The final step was to hand the keys over to the buyers. And what happened is things came to a screeching halt. The title company told us to stop everything that we were doing. And they told us that we had to go back to court and get an order from the judge in the court. And we were in shock. Are you kidding me? You know how busy judges are? So this would have cost us thousands of dollars, and it would have meant many, many, many months of, prolonged probate time. So what we did is we hit the phones really hard. We made tons of phone calls to a lot of different title companies, and we found a replacement title company. The only thing is that we needed to get notarized wet signatures from all of the family members. And some of them lived in Reno, and we were all set to drive from Sacramento to Reno to get the documents signed in Reno, but luckily the family members were willing to travel all the way to Sacramento to get the documents signed. And things actually ended up being fairly smoothly from then on there. So the final fourth story is the one that really caught us off guard. And it happened when an important probate document that's called a Notice of Proposed Action, or a NOPA for short, it was not filed with the court. And the title company flagged this and made us stop everything we were doing, and we could not proceed. And it's necessary also to wait for 15 days to get a response from the recipients of the NOPA. And so it was quite stressful because it was at the end of the sales process, and we're actually lucky in this case in that the probate attorney was able to work around the NOPA document. And I guess the moral of the story of these, you can never underestimate the power of the title company. They really have a lot of say in what goes on with the sale of probate houses. And, so they can either make or break the sale. Anyway, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another video on how to find a good probate attorney.